Think of this like a college course. We're not going to pass the final on day one. And so even just recognizing that we're learning, it's an active thing, and it's been a long time since we have not known what to do.
This is On Nutrition, a podcast from Mayo Clinic where we dig into the latest nutrition trends and research to help you understand what's health and what's hype. I'm Tara Schmidt, a registered dietitian with Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota. This episode, habits. But first, we have a listener question from Richard.
My name is Richard. I would like to know the benefits and the non-benefits of protein smoothies versus non-protein smoothies, and what smoothie is best for the immune system.
Hi, Richard. Thanks for your question. Know that there are a variety of options when we're talking about protein in smoothies. You could use whole food ingredients like yogurt, tofu, cow's milk, or soy milk to add protein to a smoothie. Or, of course, you could add a protein powder or a pre-made shake. When deciding between adding protein or not, consider the following questions. Is this a snack or a meal replacement? Am I getting enough protein during my typical meals? Would the extra calories benefit me? And what other nutrients am I getting along with the protein? When it comes to nutrients that support our immune systems, consider the following ingredients you could add to your smoothie, like yogurt, milk, peanut butter, oranges, grapefruit, mangoes, berries, tofu, and kefir. If you have a follow-up question, leave us a voicemail at 507-538-6272, and we'll answer it in a future episode. Now, on to the show. So, habits. Why are they so hard to break? Do we really need all our habits to be quote-unquote healthy? And how long does it take to actually build a habit? 21 days? 90? A lifetime? Here to help us form our fundamentals is Jenn Trepeck. Jenn is a health coach based in New York City. She's the host of Salad with a Side of Fries podcast, where I joined her earlier this year to talk about New Year's resolutions. She's also the author of Uncomplicating Wellness, where she explains how to get over decision fatigue and overcome habit relapses. Hey, Jenn, it's nice to see you.
Hi, Tara. It's good to see you.
As you know, we all have habits, from how we wash our hair to how we do laundry. And Jenn, you help clients of all kinds with their health habits in particular. So to start, I want to tackle some habits that you may have seen online in a segment we call Health or Hype. Will you tell me briefly if you would recommend the following habits?
Okay. I'm going to do my best because you and I both know.
We're never
everything
brief.
Is both. No, because everything is part this and part that.
All right. Starting your day with a cup of hot water. I feel like I usually see this with lemon. So starting your day with a cup of hot lemon water.
Yes, water. Lemon water, warm for the gallbladder.
Oh.
But not make or break. But I love the idea of starting with water, even if it's not warm, even if it's not lemon water.
We could all use some more water. Let's say that.
Exactly.
10 minutes of stretching in the morning.
I feel like the morning is the hype, the stretching.
Yes.
Also, 10 minutes is, I don't care if it's 2 minutes.
That's true. Working out in the morning instead of in the evening.
So, I'm going to say hype because it's very individual. To me, the priority is getting it done versus when it happens.
I totally agree. I think we know that morning exercisers tend to be more consistent because it's done and now you don't have the excuses to not do it. But if evening works for you, let's do that too.
Exactly.
In the same realm, 10,000 steps a day, every day.
Walking daily, yes. So health, 10,000 steps, hype. The research really is more around 7,000, 7,500 a day.
No screen time for the first 20 minutes in the morning or an hour before bed. I kind of need to do this one. I don't care if it's a hype. I'm so bad at this.
So this is health, and I am with you. I come to all of this with everyone saying, we are all a work in progress. And this is where I am in need of extra attention.
Jenn, I want us to learn more about your job. So especially in health coaching, because we have health coaches, we have dietitians, we have exercise physiologists, we have influencers who sometimes are one or more of those things. Tell us more about what a health coach does.
Yeah. I feel like I should preface this by saying that even coaching is not a monolith. So with that caveat, I look at a coach in the realm of that person in your camp, on your care team, to help you stay accountable, consistent, and figure out what works for you.
I like that.
So it's not a eat this, not that. It's progress over perfection. And how do we get there? Because one of the things that I hear all the time, we'll talk about something and it's like, all right, so sounds like over the course of this week, you're coming back and saying, I'm not ticking all of my vegetable boxes in the week. So as the coach, I say, great, how do we want to do that next week? And typically, the answer that comes back is, well, I just have to eat more vegetables.
Yeah.
And my job is to say, cool, and that's not going to actually help us get there. So let's figure out the plan. What needs to exist for more vegetables to be the thing that happens next week? So it's a lot of asking people questions versus giving all of the answers, which I think sometimes can be a little frustrating. But I do think there's a balance in that.
Well, and I also think that so many people in the medical field struggle with the limited amount of time that we have with patients. And so that's the other like gold star, amazing place where health coaching can come in because like you get the time to talk to them about, okay, I know this knowledge or I know you were provided with this information. Let's make it work together.
Exactly. And it's a piece also of how often we're speaking. So I typically, at least in the beginning, I speak to my clients every week for 12 weeks. So there's a consistency piece that also doesn't necessarily exist in other medical models that allows us to be that partner for the client or the patient or whoever it is that we would love sometimes our physicians to be, but it's just not the way their practice is set up.
What are the most common issues that people come to you for, or what kind of habits are people trying to change when they talk to you?
Certainly almost 20 years ago when I first started, it was very much, what am I supposed to eat?
Okay.
I always say weight loss is what brings people in the door. My personal specialty areas are metabolic health, blood sugar balance, cardiovascular health. And then, of course, we get into sleep and stress and food sensitivities and some of these other things that end up showing up. But those typically aren't the things that bring somebody into the conversation. And then I think there's also a piece, too, of people feeling really out of control with cravings, nighttime eating. Like they have some of these routines that they're sort of feeling powerless with.
How else would you describe your role as a health coach?
It's a cheerleader, it's an ally, it's somebody in your corner. And I am not a therapist. My clients would tell you I am, that it's almost like even if we feel like we don't have the world crashing down around us, we can show up to a therapist. And of course, there are things to talk about.
Yeah.
Depending on what's happening, it's somebody who's going to listen to the stories, find the through line, and help us figure out what to tweak. And there are things that I can ask them that point out that their nighttime eating is not a function of their willpower. Let's play with something this week and see if we notice it changing.
You get to experiment with them, right? And even if your doctor or your dietitian asks you to experiment with something, they're likely not going to see you in 7 days.
My clients will text me from the grocery store and be like, which of these? And I'm like, well, send me pictures of the labels and tell me what you think first before I respond. But there are other times where it's like, someone's like, I'm standing in front of the fridge, just tell me to turn around. I'm like, cool, turn around, right? Like little things. But it's someone so that you don't feel A, like you're alone, B, like you're lost, or C, like you have to figure everything out on your own.
That's cool. You're their partner.
Because we've all tried that before. Like, been there, done that. It didn't work for us. Myself included.
I love that. Is there a particular framework or is there a certain psychology you kind of fall into with your practice?
No. On the nutrition side, it's very much low glycemic impact nutrition and understanding the whole body is connected. So we're connecting the dots between all of the pieces, right? What's supporting our blood sugar is also generally anti-inflammatory, right? Like we're able to address a lot of the pieces on the nutrition side. On the behavioral side, I personally come to this from learning from everything, everywhere, all the time and putting it together. So whether it's on my podcast or with my clients, like I will say to them, okay, I learned this here. Let's play with that. Or there's a study that says, do you want to, experiment with this? And then sometimes I'm sharing with them like my own theories, and I am very clear, like this is my theory, not actual research. Does this resonate with you? So I don't know. It would be nice if there was one. I don't think it exists.
You honestly do kind of have a textbook. You wrote a book called Uncomplicating Wellness,
called
right?
Uncomplicating Wellness, Ditch the Rules, Quiet the Noise, Reclaim Your Life. So yes, a lot of my philosophy is in there. And I will say, it's not like a how-to. It's not a 12-week plan. It's much more about shifting how we approach all of this stuff.
And kind of what we've gotten wrong for so long, right? And why so many of us are stuck in the mindset that we are, why so many of us jump to blaming ourselves.
1,000%.
That's what I got out of it as well.
Yeah. Because we think, like, there's so much information coming at us that when we attempt anything and it doesn't, quote unquote, work, or it doesn't get us to the outcome we thought it was going to, we think the problem is us, not the plan. 9 times out of 10, it's the plan, but we think it's us, and it's not.
Well, and that's why so much of this is hard to give advice on, because that plan likely worked for someone or 1,000 someones. It just wasn't you, and that's okay. Your habits are highly individualized. Finding what works for you takes time. Some people find working with a health coach gives them the extra resources they need to find or break habits faster. A health coach can be an accountability partner, a cheerleader who reminds you of how far you've come, someone who adds an extra bit of motivation to step away from your triggers when you're tempted, or helps you come up with a plan to accomplish your health goals. While a health coach isn't a doctor, therapist, or dietitian, they can be a helpful addition to your care team and maybe see you more often than other types of health professionals could. Now let's explore the science of habits and why it's necessary to pay attention to them in the first place. When people are trying to improve their health, we talk a lot about habits and routine. Why do you feel like having those kind of core practices that become habits or become routines is so important?
Because that's lifestyle, right? That's the difference between doing something for a finite period of time and something becoming part of who we are and how we operate and just what we do.
Let's talk about the brain power. Like is that where decision fatigue comes in? Like, I don't want to wake up and have to motivate myself to get to the gym and decide what I'm going to do at the gym. Like, I'm already exhausted and it's like 6:05.
1,000%. In all the research on willpower, the people who use it most effectively are those who use it what we would call upstream, creating the routines and the habits so that less thinking is required. And that's what allows us to then have the willpower, the mental capacity for those moments that show up that are requiring a little more of our discipline or delayed gratification or decision-making. And I think the other thing on that is that we underestimate how many decisions are actually made in a day, because even the subconscious things still fatigue our decision-making. Like if we're driving to work and we pass a Dunkin' Donuts and don't stop.
Congratulations.
Yes, but it was also a decision. Even if we didn't consciously say, I'm not stopping. If we noticed the Dunkin' Donuts,
Mhm.
It was part of this collective volume of decisions made in the day.
Is this in the same realm of like former presidents or very successful
Yes.
people wear the same clothes every single day, like blue
Yes.
suit, white shirt, navy tie?
Yes.
Because they have a lot more important decisions to make, likely
Exactly.
later on in the day. And so they're like, I don't care
Yes.
what I'm wearing.
Exactly.
Okay. I feel like I use up a lot of my decisions on my hair almost every day. I should probably work on that. Maybe I'd have better habits. Like, Tara, no one cares what your hair looks like. Get over it. Okay.
That's
Working on it.
amazing. Any health outcome, any life outcome is a function of what we do all the time. Our life in anything, whether our work or our kids or any of those things, everything becomes a function of what we do most of the time. Whatever that is, whether that's a healthful habit or one that's maybe counterproductive, if it's the thing that happens most of the time,
Sure.
it's going to dictate the outcomes.
Yeah. What are some of the most important health habits? So are there habits or practices that you have every single client of yours work on?
Yes, sleep is one.
Okay.
I call sleep the ultimate biohack. You could be doing everything else, and if you are not sleeping, your body will not respond. So sleep, 1,000%. Stress management, 1,000%. Connection and community is also one that people ignore and we end up talking about. And they go, why are you asking me about my social plans? Or I have a few clients right now who are all like sort of recently retired. And part of what we're talking about is how they're spending their time.
Yeah.
Are we taking a class? Are we volunteering? What are the things we're doing that keep us connected to people, that give us purpose and reason to get out of bed in the morning? Like, those are longevity factors that are not going to show up in your blood work in a way that tell you to make it a priority.
And that is huge in the research when we look at places in the world where people live very long, especially health span versus lifespan.
Yes.
Community it's part of the Mediterranean diet. Like, this is big. It's not random.
1,000%. And then the movement piece, right? Movement, fuel, hydration, those are also in there, but those are more on people's radar.
Those are ones that people are aware of more than like, wait, why do you care about my sleep?
Right. And the piece that like through line of all of those is mindset.
Oh,
Right. We are learning above all, people walk away learning how to live in the gray area between the black, white, good, bad, on, off.
which is
It is hard. And it's critical.
Let's talk about building habits, right? Because again, I think we've all attempted, we've all failed. That's okay. I know we don't love that word, but let's just call it what it is. How long do you feel like it takes people to actually build a habit? Like, we heard 21 days. Some research says 90. Obviously, there's going to be movement from wherever the median is, let's say. What's your read?
It takes however long it takes.
Oh,
The least satisfying answer, it's going to take however long it takes. And none of them are fixed either. So I will say, okay, so yes, we've heard the 21-day thing. I read some research that post-pandemic, it went up to 66.
oh, interesting.
I see in my clients, I work with people typically for 12 weeks. There's a lot that we see happen in those 90 days. At the same time, I sometimes also feel like it takes a year of living this lifestyle to experience each season, each holiday, at
Yes.
least once with this new approach.
I totally agree.
The thing that I think people overlook is that just because we have this habit right now, that it will always be the habit or that it'll always look like what it does right now. So what I mean by that is, let's say you change jobs. You're now driving to a different place. Well, maybe that spot that was your go-to lunch spot by your old office isn't there anymore. And now we need to rethink all of our habits around lunch. Or maybe the culture of this new office is that everybody gets from the same restaurant at lunch. And you're like, well, I used to bring my lunch and I don't want to be antisocial in this new environment. So like, it's also not fixed forever even though in this moment, we've got this down.
Yeah, it's not pass or fail, right? It just needs to look better than last year. And I don't think people take the time to ever celebrate, like, I did better. They're always like, no, I still failed. I only lost 30 pounds. And I say, can you change the tone of your voice, please? That is 30 pounds, if that was their goal, if that was healthy, obviously.
I had this conversation with somebody recently that they were disappointed. It was however many pounds it was. But every pound of weight that we lose, it's 4 pounds of pressure off our knees. So if it was 30 pounds, 120 pounds of pressure off your knees, like, go to the grocery store and pick up a bunch of bags of flour or whatever.
120 of them, to be specific.
Yes, exactly. And carry them around. Don't just pick them up and put it back, but carry them around.
Like Santa.
Yeah, like that is powerful.
We're making hundreds of decisions a day, and many of the repeated ones that we don't even think about become habits. Those everyday choices, like how we sleep, move, hydrate, and eat, can determine our likelihood of developing a disease, and even the length of our lives. So how long does it take to make a sustainable change? Well, it might take however long it takes, from a few months to over a year, to see how your habits change through the seasons. And just because your habits may be set now, doesn't mean they'll be the same forever. As your life circumstances change, so will your patterns. That means there's hope if you want to change your daily behaviors. Which brings us to the age-old question, how? Okay, this is the million-dollar question. This is what you're here for, Jen. What makes a habit stick?
This is counterintuitive, but I think it's actually, in all irony, flexibility.
Oh, I like that.
So, for example, the habit is movement. I move every day. Some days it looks like a walk. Some days it looks like a soul cycle class or a spin class of your choice. Some days it looks like a bar class. Some days it looks like sitting on the ground and doing crunches and then some squats while I watch TV.
Mm-hmm.
If we live in the world of habit and lifestyle, consistency is the priority, not the details of what it looks like. And I think we set ourselves up when we expect it to look the same every day, all the time, no matter what.
I could not agree more, because I can give you 1,000 examples of people saying, well, I couldn't do my original goal because my kids got sick. I couldn't do my original diet plan because we ended up going out to eat, and I can't, skip my mom's birthday. Like, there's always going to be a hurdle in that perfect wellness routine. So needing to have flexibility seems so obvious, but I don't think we see health, especially goals like that. I don't think we give ourselves flexibility.
And I think we interpret the word habit as meaning the same all the time.
Completely, yes.
I think we conflate this idea of like duplication and habit and routine. So again, if my habit is drinking enough water, odds are I've built some things into my day so that drinking my water happens most of the time. And then let's say I'm traveling. I am not drinking enough water when I travel. It doesn't mean that I no longer have the habit of hydrating myself.
Sure.
It means maybe I'm thinking more about the water when I get to where I'm going. Maybe I'm making sure that I use the restroom one more time before I leave home. Maybe it means that this day was just not my best. And I still have a habit of drinking my water because most of the time I do.
Now, there's also practices out there like habit stacking,
Mhm.
right, of new habits being built upon ones that you already have. So let's say I already brush my teeth every morning. If I have a new medication that's supposed to be morning medication, I should just brush my teeth and take my medication right after. Or even if you have two habits in the morning, like stick it in the middle. Do you like this practice of habit
Yeah, I
stacking?
love habit stacking if it works
Okay.
for you. And
Sure.
even habit stacking sometimes requires reminders. So I'm a big fan of what I call taking the easy way out. What I mean by that is, whatever the thing is that we want to do, how can we make that the easiest? Because nobody wins for making this the hardest.
Well, yeah, it sounds
So
right.
how can I take the easy way out? Even if I'm going to add this thing to brushing my teeth, I need a Post-it that tells me to do the thing that I said I was going to do when I brush my teeth, right? Like,
Or that medication needs to be next to the toothpaste.
Exactly.
So that when you get the toothpaste out, you need to also take the medication out.
exactly. The physical reminder. So I'm a big fan of Post-its. So I had a client, she was a big stress eater and nighttime eater. And we brainstormed a list of things that she truly enjoys doing that she never really does. And we put that list on a Post-it. And we made a few copies of this Post-it, by the way. One was on the coffee table. One was on her computer screen. One was actually on top of the pint of ice cream. The idea is that the Post-it interrupts us when we're in that usual flow of the routine. We can then look at the Post-it and just be like, great, this one. This is what I'm going to pick. And the more specific we can get on the Post-it, the better. So if it's listen to music, music isn't helpful. I want the name of the song. I want the playlist on your phone because we want to minimize the amount of thinking that has to happen in the moment. I'm a big fan of alarms, but not just alarms that go off. It needs to have a label of what I'm supposed to do when that alarm goes off. So what I do is I put it in my calendar. So going back to our bedtime thing, right? I have a repeating event in my calendar every single day at the same time. So it's like in my calendar with an alarm that goes off 15 minutes before. And what it says is stop what you're doing and get ready for bed.
Can we talk about alert fatigue, where we get numb to a regular alarm because it happens every night? And you're like, okay, that's nice. Stop that annoying noise from happening. Do we need a new habit or interruption now?
Sometimes we do. Here's the other thing is like, if the tool works some of the time, it's worth keeping in the tool belt. I think if we expect the same tool to always work, is also setting ourselves up. So it's not that the tool didn't work today, so we throw it out the window. It means the tool didn't work today. What other tools do I have in my tool belt? So another one, I had this thing on my computer called Flux. It's f.lux, L-U-X. It changes the color of my computer screen as it gets later into the night. It will also pop up and say, hey, you're waking up in 9 hours. It's another indicator, and it actually helps me realize I can be done right now. I don't need to do anymore. It's how many little things can we put around us? Maybe we need a second alarm on the phone.
And I want to talk more about that example because I feel like we have talked a lot about building and creating good habits and less about quote unquote bad habits. Like I rot on my couch after I get home from work instead of going to the gym, or I choose this activity instead of this one. Why are some of those habits so hard for us to break? Like, even though we have the knowledge, I know what I can do. Like, I can pack my shoes and put them in my car. Like, I know. But I'm stuck. What is happening?
I think they feel so hard when we're coming from a reactive place. Like nighttime eating is a big one for this. I ate the ice cream again. And then we start to beat ourselves up. We think we suck. You know, like we come up with every story in the world of why we failed. So one of the things is there's a biochemical driver. So we can sit there and we can talk about a million other things for your nighttime meeting. But my first question is, tell me about what happened first thing in the morning today. 9 times out of 10, that nighttime meeting is connected to undereating in the first half of the day. So what we could actually do is focus on what happens in the first half of the day, particularly right first thing in the morning. And then the nighttime meeting takes care of itself.
We do that activity called like a habit link, where we go through your entire day, like step by step, to see where we could have broken it, or habit chain, for example. Of like, we could have broken that link at 7 a.m. this morning, but we didn't. And then the rest of it came to be because of what happened at 7 a.m.
Right. I think it's hard because we think that beating ourselves up is how we keep moving forward. And I promise you it's not, but we think it is.
I got to be on your podcast, and it was at the end of 2025. So we talked about New Year's resolutions. And in your book, you talk about the rationale that people will use for their goals. I hear this all the time. I do this myself all the time. I will start on Monday. I will start on January 1st. I will start after the chips are gone out of my pantry. So I'm going to go eat them right now. Is it effective to have a date tied to a goal? Is that useful at all?
I'm in the camp of like, start now, who cares?
Yeah.
Never a perfect time, always a great time is a phrase I learned from Dr. Sherry Price. Like, we have this idea where like we like clean, easy Mondays, the first of a month, the first of a year. But let's just be on the same page that nothing magical happens and nothing is actually different in the tick of a clock one way or the other. What is the nonsense that we're feeding ourselves that we think something is going to be different if we call tomorrow the day? The other thing that I see is that sometimes when we push out that date or we declare whatever that starting point is, I see a lot of people end up with like this Last Supper mentality.
Oh, yeah. Eat all the chips in your pantry.
Exactly. It only makes things more challenging. And let's also decide that if the plan means that you're never eating a chip for the rest of your life, it's not your plan for life. And so if we feel like that's what we need to do, let's take a step back and rethink the plan.
Yeah. Start experimenting. When you have people engaging in new health behaviors, are you having them track them? Like, are we writing it all down? Are we just writing down the successes? What's your practice there?
So I have people track what they're eating, when they're eating, and like more or less quantities in terms of servings.
Sure.
I'm not a big fan of weighing and measuring personally because I'm not living my life with measuring cups in my handbag. So like I use our hands a lot as ballpark estimates. What time we go to sleep, what time we wake up, how we slept. And then there's a section on their tracking sheet for their movement and then what went well today, what I did for myself today, challenges, how I plan to overcome those, and questions for my coach.
Oh, I love that.
Most of the time, people don't use all of those fill-in-the-blank questions until we start to talk about it.
Yeah.
And most of the time, the things that people write down, all the things they think that happened where they failed. And over time, sometimes it's our focus of the week to take note of everything that did happen in a day in the section, or what I'm proud of, or what I did for myself today becomes all the things that did happen. And sometimes we have to focus on that a lot.
I know we talked about sleep. Are there any other tips we haven't covered that you find yourself continually telling your clients?
So I think one of the things that we're continually coming back to is your value as a human is not tied to these things. It is not a moral failure or a failure of you as a human being that you ate ice cream or that your body is holding on to excess fat that's not serving you. And so continuing to come back to these are the pieces that are really important, and we can make this easier by. And just continuing to be a work in progress and recognize that that's actually the process.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of when did we lose that? And I think we can just blame it on diet culture and lose 3 sizes in 3 days. And
something I say all the time with my clients is think of this like a college course. We're not going to pass the final on day 1.
I like that.
And we might learn something in week 6 that we've been doing for the last 5 weeks. It doesn't mean that it was wrong. It means we can't possibly do everything all the time. And so even just recognizing that we're learning, it's an active thing, and it's been a long time since we have not known what to do. Most of us in our careers or in what we have going on in our lives, it's been a long time since we have had to sit there and go, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I need to learn.
It's uncomfortable. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so I think of you as this all-knowing habit guru.
Oh my God.
Are you going to spill some of what you do? So what are some routines you have personally that you can motivate us all with?
All right. So I start every morning with my vitamins. They're drinkable, so it gets me 8 to 10 ounces of water. And then I eat 2 dates and I work out.
Okay.
After my workout, I have a protein shake with creatine. And then my mantra for the day for all fuel is protein and fiber at every meal makes your moving fat no big deal. Protein and fiber at every meal makes your moving fat no big deal. So protein is clean, lean protein. I don't care. Eat what you like. Don't eat what you don't like. Fiber is vegetables and sometimes fruit. And a meal is really any time we eat. The only difference between a meal or a snack is how much we have at a time. And then therefore, how long till we need to fuel again. So I am fueling myself all day long with protein, fiber, quality fat. And I think the other piece is I'm coming back to something's off right now. What do I need? Am I thirsty? Right? Have I not had enough water today? What do I need right now? Oh, I'm craving something. I just need something with flavor to drink.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what do I have for that? It's always this noticing and then playing and experimenting, as we've talked about, but coming back and just paying attention. What are the things I have in my tool belt? What can I do to help myself feel better, feel more confident, have more energy, show up and do the things the way I want to?
And when you were talking, I was also thinking can we have a plan B and a plan C? So if plan A, which was to go out of the gym at 6 a.m., didn't happen, okay, fine. That doesn't mean I'm not moving today because my plan B was to do the app on my phone in my living room. And if that didn't happen because work got really, really insane, then plan C was to walk the dog after dinner, right? To just always have something because it all can count, even if it wasn't your initial perfectly Instagram-worthy goal.
Exactly. Okay, it wasn't that. This is the thing I can do.
Yes.
Oh, I normally sit in the car while my kids are inside at this lesson. And that might be the 20 minutes that I have to walk around the parking lot and circle the car.
Yeah. Jenn, I think you and I could probably talk all day. So I hope that we get to hang out again soon.
Yes.
But I wanted to say thank you again for coming on Nutrition. I love hanging out with you. I love learning from you. I think we're a pretty good pair.
Likewise, I love this. So thank you. It's been a pleasure.
The key to keeping up a healthy habit is flexibility. If you have a strict daily goal and fail at it one day, you're more likely to get discouraged. It's more helpful and less stressful to just do what you can, even if it's not exactly what you had planned. That still counts as consistency. And there are plenty of tactics you can use, like stacking habits together so it's easier to knock them out during your regular tasks. For example, you could take your medicine when you brush your teeth, or stretch while you wait for your morning coffee to brew. You can also use multiple reminders to stop old habits, like a Post-it note on your ice cream or an alarm to close your computer for the day. Remember, it's very unlikely that you'll wake up on the perfect day and keep up perfect habits for the rest of your life. So start now. You've got to train your mind, give yourself some grace, and recognize your progress, even when it's not perfect. That's all for this episode, but if you have a follow-up question, leave us a voicemail at 507-538-6272, and we'll answer it in a future episode. For more On Nutrition episodes and resources, check us out online at mayoclinic.org/onnutrition. And if you found this show helpful, please subscribe and make sure to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast app. It really helps others find our show. Thanks for listening. And until next time, eat well and be well.